So, as we know, there's all kinds of things that can change demand or change supply and actually shift the curve. If just price changes, it's a movement along a curve. Oh, I didn't label that. It's a movement along the curve if only price changes. But anything else besides price that affects how much you want to buy, like income or taste and preferences, expectations, prices of related goods, number of consumers in the market, any of those things change, you need a whole new demand curve to show that. Because this demand curve shows how quantity changes with a change in price, holding everything else constant. If everything else isn't constant, you need a whole new demand curve. Same with supply. If something happens to change supply, anything that happens to change the cost of production, or anything that changes the expectations of suppliers, or the number of suppliers in the market, things like that. Anything else that affects how much people want to supply at every price, we need a whole new supply curve to show that, because the supply curve is drawn showing how the quantity of supply changes with a change in price, holding everything else constant. And so we could do some specific examples, but I wanted to just do a summary here because to emphasize there's only 4 things that can happen. There's a lot of different reasons things can happen, and some of these might all happen at the same time, but there's only 4 things that can happen. Demand can increase, demand can decrease. Supply can increase, supply can decrease. So you need to understand the things that shift the demand curve and the things that shift the supply curve and the direction of those shifts. And so that's the important part of using these models to explain what's happening. But once you know what curve's shifting, no matter what is causing that shift, the impact on the market is going to be the same. If demand for a product increases, it becomes more popular, consumer incomes go up, and it's a normal good. Expectations increase, you just think maybe you won't be able to get it later, like toilet paper during COVID. Whatever, anything that increases demand is going to increase equilibrium price and increase equilibrium quantity. Whatever it is, whatever market this is, and whatever it was that increased demand, the new equilibrium is going to be more people are going to buy it and the price is going to be higher, which makes sense, right? A lot more people want it, it's going to drive up the price, but more people are buying it. Like roses on Valentine's Day, or champagne on New Year's Eve, or anything where the demand goes up, holding all, and then suppliers are more willing to supply, we move up the supply curve and we get a higher quantity. If demand decreases for whatever reason, lower incomes, something suddenly becomes not popular anymore, anything that decreases demand for a product is a shift inward of the demand curve. The new equilibrium will be at a lower price and a lower quantity. Again, this is true regardless of what market we're talking about, regardless of the reason for the demand decrease. Every demand decrease looks like this. The exact shape of the supply and demand curves may look different. They may be steeper, they may be flatter, they may be curved, but a decrease in demand by itself is going to drive down price and decrease quantity. An increase in supply is a shift out of the supply curve. It's cheaper to produce. I'm more willing to produce at every price. You don't have to pay me as much to get me to produce. An increase in supply drives down price and increases quantity. Price is lower and quantity is higher. And again, that should make sense, right? Because you've lived in markets, it's cheaper to make, the prices are going to fall. I'm going to wait till the technology improves on this new whatever fancy thing that came out, and the price is going to fall. And a decrease in supply, just to be complete here, a decrease in supply, a shift in of the supply curve, it's costing me more to produce. Input prices have gone up. I have to pay more for my labor, anything like that. Well, labor is an input. An increase in supply is going to be more costly to produce. You're going to have to pay me more to get me to produce. So a decrease in supply. So a decrease in supply is a shift inward in the supply curve. People are less willing to supply at every price. You're going to have to pay them more. The price is higher and less is being sold. No matter what market we're talking about, no matter what the effect is, these are the 4 things that can happen. So I just wanted to put them all in one picture so you can say it's going to be one of these 4 things. And so you think, what's happening in the market? What is the market? What's happening? Is that a demand shifter or is it a supply shifter? And is it an increase or a decrease? Is it shifting the curve out, bigger quantity every price, or shifting the curve in, lower quantity at every price? And once you know that, then what the picture looks like, what the change in equilibrium price and quantity is the same regardless.